playing lights out, and he doesn't have the communication issues that Tom Brady has on the other side of the football. Also, Zeke Elliott finally going to run the ball. That will open up some holes in that great Patriots secondary. Watch Dak get 300-plus yards.
Another great matchup this weekend, the Panthers and the Saints. Bobby, who has a bigger day, Christian McCaffrey or Michael Thomas?
I don't even know if this is even a question, Greeny. After watching your monologue on Michael Thomas yesterday, you did all of the work for me. Whether he's on pace for 150 yards, he hasn't had a drop since last October. He has more contested catches than Julio Jones has uncontested ones. The guy is an absolute monster. He's unstoppable.
See, if you just watch Get Up, you know everything. And
there we go.
That's well done. Michael Thomas is having the best season of any receiver ever. And then finally, Sanchez, who you got, Russell Wilson or the Philadelphia defense?
I feel like whoever has the last offensive possession between Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson is going to win the MVP. Nobody can stop either of these guys. The Eagles definitely can't. He's got Flash Gordon. He's got his other big target at wide eye.
Lockett over there
They
as well.
got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Too many weapons. It's going to be a long day for the Eagles.
Russell Wilson, who again was the MVP until his team had a bye, and then everyone forgot about him, which is just sort of the way the league works these days. And obviously Lamar Jackson deserves all the attention he's getting. But I want to talk about the quarterback in the other team in that game, and that is Carson Wentz. You know, Carson Wentz is a guy who, when you watch them play, he makes like 2 or 3 plays a game that you say to yourself, wow, he's unbelievable. Sure. And yet, by every standard of measure, he's just not as good as I think all of us envision him to be. So through a quarterback's eyes, Mark, when you're watching Carson Wentz right now, what are we seeing?
You're so back and forth, but the best thing that happened to Carson Wentz has been Nick Foles. It's changed the perception about Carson Wentz because they won the Super Bowl that year, and he was on pace to be an MVP. But he's either hurt or played pretty average. And right now, I mean, he gets so many excuses made for him that Dak doesn't get.
Yeah.
I mean, Dak's the best quarterback in that division, hands down.
That's an important point. And Vilma, we were talking about this in our meeting this morning, and you're seeing video here. Of course, this was Nick Foles leading that team to the championship, including this, maybe the most famous play in recent Super Bowl memory, the Philly special. But if you look at Wentz, all of the excuses that people make for him, all the injuries, all the drops, Sanchez just said it. Those are all the excuses no one ever wants to make for Dak Prescott.
Exactly, and they need to make those excuses, or they have to call it what it is for Carson Wentz. He's not that good of a quarterback. Now, I understand the drops that the receivers have had, but we don't make those excuses for Dak. Also, what about the overthrown balls? What about the misreads that we've seen from Carson Wentz? And we're always talking about he has to have the run game to help him out, right?
I want you to look at these numbers on the screen. These came from something Hembo tweeted yesterday, and I wanted to make it a full screen because the numbers are remarkable. Carson Wentz, in games that he starts over the last 2 years, the Eagles are either exactly average or slightly below average in everything. And this is a guy who we all know what he is hyped up at times to be. So, Bobby, why isn't it? What is missing there?
Well, I think it's the fact that when you need a play sometimes, he comes up a little short. He may overthrow someone on a 3rd and 5, or maybe he takes a bad sack. The reason why people think he's great is you watch the film and you grab onto these highlights. You pull, you see him, you make the athletic, you see him make the athletic plays. But as you're watching here, some of the stuff, like he's sitting in the pocket, he has time, and he's just missing guys. And those are throws that good quarterbacks, consistent quarterbacks make, and you have to make to move the chains. And that's why this offense has been average. And then you watch him do something spectacular, and you think, this is it. If we can just get more of this, he's going to be really good. And he hasn't been able to consistently deliver those spectacular moments.
And this is a great example of where sometimes national perception is so different than it is locally, because Sanchez, you could say maybe Nick Foles was the best thing that happened to him. I get what you meant by that. But on the other hand, it could be the worst thing, because in Philly, they hate Carson Wentz. They all bemoan the fact that they traded away Nick Foles.
Yeah, and you look at Carson Wentz right now, as we were comparing him to Dak Prescott, we have stopped talking about Carson Wentz as being one of the top quarterbacks. Remember, Dak Prescott, the only reason that there's always debate is because why? We have a few that think he's really good and a few that believe he's average. Carson Wentz is just, frankly, just fallen. He's just right there in the average category. That's why we don't talk about
And he really was on that trajectory to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and things got derailed, whether it was injuries or just poor performance, throwing to guys that are covered or missing open guys.
If you really look at the numbers, since that 1 year he was brilliant and then he got hurt. Outside of that, the numbers really have not been that good. All right, right now, as quick as I possibly can, let me pick every game on the Sunday schedule. Go. Broncos, Bills. Josh Allen is what Mitch Trubisky should be. He's not great, but he helps his team win. And they're going to the playoffs. Buffalo, 20-10. Steelers, Bengals. People say Cincy can't lose them all. I say those people haven't seen them play. Pittsburgh, 102-6. Giants, Bears, and the reality. The way we all reacted to Daniel Jones being picked where he was should have been for Trubisky 2 years before. This is a terrible game. I refuse to make a pick, and you can't make me. Raiders, Jets. Gruden's group is thinking about the division, but they've come to the wrong place at the wrong time. Slinging Sammy Darnold is coming on strong. I've got the guys in green in an upset, 27-24. Panthers, Saints. Carolina may be finding out Kyle Allen isn't the answer. We all know for sure Drew Brees is. New Orleans by 2 scores. Bucks, Falcons. Had the season started on November 10th, the Falcons would be the best team in football. But no matter when it started, they're better than Tampa. Make it 3 straight, 31-16. Lions, Skins. I looked up the definition of dysfunction. It is abnormality or impairment in the function of a system. Hey, DC, does that sound familiar? Detroit plays hard every week. This time they get the reward. 96-3. Jags, Titans. Hard teams to figure, and figures to be a hard game to watch. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Ryan Tannehill is the reason I'm taking Tennessee. 17-10. Cowboys, Patriots. Wow, highest rated game of the year, and probably one of the best. Can Dak solve that defense? Can Brady get it together? In the end, Belichick is on one side and Jason Garrett the other. Give me New England, 23-21. Seahawks, Eagles, another good game with really good quarterbacks and not much else. Neither of these is going deep in the playoffs, but Philly is home and the defense looks better. Fly, Eagles, fly, 24-23. And finally, great one. Packers, Niners, both quarterbacks are handsome. Jimmy G may in fact be handsomer. He looks like the hero in an animated Disney movie. Aaron Rodgers, meanwhile, just looks like a hero on the field. I'll take him, 23-17.
I immediately thought of Aladdin when you said
it needed to be said. Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, I'll just say it. Jimmy Garoppolo is so handsome, it distracts me. Like I can't focus.
Jimmy GQ.
He just is, and yet he's not nearly as good as Aaron Rodgers, and so I like the Packers. You should hear my producer in my ear, Nick Scales, like, just get to the basketball. In my ear, it's true. Well, Sanchez, you know about that. People were distracted by your handsomeness, and frankly, it worked for a couple of years.
For a couple of years.
Wow, Greeny. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Where am I?
Let's move on to the last thing in the world you were expecting today. High school basketball. Well, we've got it. Sierra Canyon taking on Montgomery. It's Bronny James and Zaire Wade playing for Sierra Canyon. That's LeBron's son and Dwayne Wade's son. And early in the action, that's Zaire Wade, Richard Jefferson, throwing it down.
I do not condone this type of activity. I just want to go on record here. We got D. Wade walking through here like this is the ESPY's pre-party, right? It's like, what's going on, right? Yeah, we're watching high school kids. It's 29-6.
That way we're
75-33, Greeny. We're showing this. We're contributing to child labor. That's what we are doing right now.
That was Bronny James making his first basket as a high schooler. In the end, they would win 91-44. You saw that his dad wasn't there. That's because LeBron is in Oklahoma City for their game tonight. And LeBron James' scorched earth tour has begun. He's doing it as a point guard. He leads the NBA assists. It's something he's never done at more than 11 a game to go along with his 25 points. Through the first 14 games this year, James has recorded 10 or more assists in 11 of them. That's by far the most double-figure assist games through 14 games in his career. And I am so proud of myself for this. Because, Richard, I said, I mean, it's got to be 10 years ago on the old show that I said LeBron James was put on this earth to be the greatest point guard that ever lived. And I've never felt that they played him in exactly the right way. He is finally in a role that I think he is perfectly suited for. He's the best passer for his size that has ever lived.
And one of the things is that we get so enamored with what James Harden is doing scoring. I think Bron knows, like, he's not going to score in that type of space. Like, he's not going to be scoring 30 points a night. But what he can do is still dominate in other areas. And so if he puts his focus towards passing, and look, James Harden is outscoring everyone in this league by 8 points, the nearest close person. Bron is literally leading the NBA by 20% more assists than the next closest person. And that's something that we should be able to marvel at.
And that it really is, at this stage of his career, if you wonder what the next, because maybe when he was 26, if he wanted to try and score 35, 38 points a game, he could have. There's no reason for him to do that now.
No.
This is his natural position.
Well, yeah, and now that he has, you know, Anthony Davis on his side, now that you have Kyle Kuzma, and now that you have guys around him, and he's always been a facilitator. This is not anything new. But for him to say, oh no, this is now my focus. I can still average 25 a game, which he is, but also instead of trying to get to that 28, I'm going to make sure that everybody else gets involved, and it's really raising the level of their team.
You know, we had an exchange between LeBron and Tom Brady. Many people may have seen over social media joking about how long they're going to stick around. And we just saw his son playing high school basketball. You know LeBron so well. He has said many times he wants to stick around to play with his son. Do you believe that happens?
Yes, because players that great, including Tom Brady, they try to find extra motivation, other motivation. It's not MVPs. Yes, they want to win more championships, but if that's just your singular goal, like, you can get deterred. But his goal really is to be the all-time leading scorer in the NBA history, which is going to take multiple years to catch Kareem, but also the fact that he has an opportunity to play with his son, very similar to the Griffeys. It's never been done before in basketball, so I think it's something that motivates him to keep pushing, keep his body strong so he can still play at a high level.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. playing together, homered in the same game, LeBron James and his son Bronny. Could it happen? We'll see. One way or another, LeBron is finally playing the position, in my opinion, he was ideally suited for. Meanwhile, you guys have a doubleheader tonight on ESPN. You got DeMar DeRozan and the Spurs against Embiid and Simmons and crew with the Sixers at 8 Eastern, and then you'll see Harden and Russell Westbrook and the Rockets in a huge showdown game with Kawhi, PG, and the Clips. Our coverage starts with NBA Countdown tonight, 7 Eastern, starring Richard Jefferson here on ESPN. Meanwhile, coming up on Get Up, drama with Deshaun Watson's late fumble in Houston. Should it have been Indy ball? We'll discuss what it means next. Get Up on ESPN.